Welcome to the Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by Play Picks and the Lines, coming to you from the West Coast. Josh Lander, joined as always by my guy Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. Another Game 7 to go through for y'all. Two of these in the Eastern Conference. We will talk Philly and Atlanta here in just a moment, just to make sure if you still do need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find all those listings in your area. Plenty of playoff promos still available. And make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Jump into the comments. Let us know who you guys got in this Game 7. Nate, let's just dive right into it.
Odds makers not expecting Philly to fold in Game 7. I think the NBA probably has a vested interest in not seeing a Hawks-Bucks potential Eastern Conference Finals. So Philly has been installed as a 7-point favorite. It's up to 7.5 at the moment. They're minus 320 on the money line. Almost no reason to bet that. And the total is at 216.5. And the reason we feel confident about the Hawks covering, I believe, is just because of how bad Philly's offense has been in the fourth quarter. They didn't have a huge lead to squander in Game 6, but they still really struggled, to find reliable offensive options. Tobias Harris, three-quarter player. Ben Simmons, only a defensive player, it appears. The hack of Ben Simmons really taking them out of their rhythm. They really have all year just relied on Joel Embiid, who does have that nice two-man game with Seth Curry, and those two guys are able to generate some offense in the fourth quarter. But it's hard to believe that they're really going to, unless they pull away early, that they're going to pull away from a Trae Young-led team. The way Trae is locked in, there are no answers for him. He either hits from deep, he gets into the lane. If you help, there's a lob coming. If you don't, there's a floater. He's shooting at an extremely high percentage. I feel very confident just backing Trae to make this entertaining and keep Atlanta in it. And I would also look at the under, which has just been hitting routinely exactly for that reason, because Philly struggles to score down the stretch.
Yeah, and Philly struggles to score down the stretch, and we're talking about those last three games specifically because that's when we saw Embiid really start to feel the brunt of that tear in his knee and clearly slow down and be hobbled in his abilities on offense. He stays in the game because of what he does on defense. He's the only person that can even alter Trae Young's floaters, that when he comes into the lane or even make him think about it. Trae had about eight of his 13 made field goals in Game 6 were all inside the paint. The other 5 made were from 3. So as you mentioned, he's just he's doing exactly what the current NBA wants you to do: either take it to the paint or pull that 3. I believe in Trae. This feels like a Trae Young game. No matter what happens, I think he will be able to keep it close. He is his emergence in this playoffs. And his ability to want the moment, combined with Embiid's knee problems, is the reason that I think 7 points is crazy in this. The last 3 games, as we mentioned, we keep going Hawks and under, and that's because the last 3 games have been decided by 5 points last game, but 3.5 points on average, and then the average score is combined 203.5. in these games. And we've seen some pretty high scoring first halves. As we mentioned, it's what happens down the stretch. And specifically, the stagnance in the offense happens obviously as well when the hack of Ben starts in the end of the second and the end of the fourth quarters, really starting about halfway through both quarters. The hack of Ben starts, which takes everybody else off their game and limits the amount of even touches that someone like Joel Embiid can get. So, at this point, for the other thing to look at for Game 7 is going to be the lack of Bogdanovich. And if he's not 100%, which there's no way that he is, he's still questionable for this game. So even if he plays, you expect him to be hobbled. There were at least 3 3-point attempts that Gallinari took in the fourth quarter that would have been Bogdanovich had he been on the floor, and he was prone to making those in the wins that we've seen in this series from Atlanta. I would love to feel great about Philly. Obviously, we mentioned Joel Embiid's knee. Normally, we would go, hey, it's Philly at home. You've got to believe in them. It hasn't been the case in this series, as 2 of the Hawks' 3 wins have been in Philly, including Game 1. So I think really, I'm taking under Philly's 111.5 points. That might be my favorite bet there. Took under their points last time. No reason to think that even if they get 60 points in the first half, once again, that they're going to be able to close that game out with an offensive outpouring. And look, I don't know which games in this series that the odds makers have been following, but Seth Curry's averaging almost 22 points a game in this series, almost 26 in the last 3, and they still have his point total set at 16.5. So I'm going to gobble it up and actually bump it up to 19.5 in his alternate point total and get about plus 175 on my money on FanDuel, and really love that.
Yeah, and another prop, I mean, you mentioned Bogey potentially sitting out. We're going to see a lot of Kevin Huerter. He played 44 minutes last game, scored 17 points, and his prop's only at 12.5 points, even money. I think Trey, I mean, obviously is going to have more usage, going to have more attention on him, and it's going to be on Huerter along with Gallo or Lou Will to hit those open shots when he's able to produce. Yeah, I mean, the Hawks are just a really impressive defensive team. I mean, both of these teams are. And I think that there's really not too much to think about in terms of taking a Game 7 under when two really good defensive teams are going in. The total hasn't really dropped that much despite these last three vital games averaging just 204.5 as a combined total. I mean, I'm combining the Hawks and that under. You get plus 280 on DK. I think you got to feel pretty good about that one.
Yeah, I feel great about it. I actually last minute before the last game teased up the Hawks and the under, and it hit because they lost by 5. I got it up to about 7, which felt great. I don't even need that in this game as they're already giving us 7 points. I feel really, really good about it. And then one other item I suppose that I'll be looking at specifically in this game, as we mentioned, will be what is up with Tobias Harris. And that's going to be a huge outcome for me. He did come back with 24 points in Game 6 to help out Seth Curry, who also had 24. But I'm going to continue to take under Embiid's points. I don't feel great about somebody like Tobias Harris like I do, when his point total is about 21.5. But I feel really good about under Embiid once again, 30.5 points. I just think this is too much of, as we said, two good defensive teams. And look, in Game 7, I love taking the under in Game 7. Everybody tightens up once the even second half hits, especially once the end of the third quarter comes along and everyone's like, wow, this is the last 12 minutes, no matter what, everything tightens up. The only series we don't feel comfortable doing that in is when we see the Bucks playing the Nets right now and we have a low total. But this one, not a concern, especially as we mentioned, the troubles for specifically Philly in the second half and fourth quarter. So either way, man, Game 7, our two favorite words in the NBA. We will be feverishly watching that game, following our other delicious Game 7, Brooklyn-Milwaukee, as we see who will be playing in the Eastern Conference Finals this year. Make sure you're liked and subscribed to that page. Y'all jump in the comments. We'll be in there seeing who you guys are betting on in this Game 7. And until then, happy betting.